What's going on, guys? My name is Tommy. Welcome back to the channel. It's time for a really dumb build. I'm not even gonna lie. Today's build is so good that I changed a character that I will be playing in a pre-existing high-level game here at the house to this character because this character is terrifying today. None other than Debrick Wookiee! That was a really bad Wookiee noise, but you can take it. Requests: we build the Herald Collar Cleric. Summoning 101, kids. That's what we're here for today. The name of the game is always Action Economy after all. So it is time to learn how to make the numbers so big that your turn takes 45 minutes and you've won because everyone's left your house because it's like 3 in the morning by the time your turn's over. I mean, that's optimization, right? Yeah. / when you really want to end your game, make players leave because they don't get actions in combat. If you're liking what you're seeing, like, subscribe, ding the bell. Stay caught up on your Pathfinder this many coverage today. This episode of Min-Maxing for Fun and Profit was brought to you in part by Tomi and Nagase. Robin, over at Carrion Ground, one of the players who I think will survive the coming battles. Over a year of high-tier patronage from you, my man. Thank you so much. Now, let's hit it. Okay, so from jump, there are a few things this class needs, this build needs, in order to function. Without a lot of needs met and the right party, it kind of falls apart. First and foremost, this is definitely in the session 0, a class you want to ask about, because it will take a lot of time in combat. A lot of time in combat. Your whole shtick is to make more guys that you're controlling. There are several ways to mitigate how long this takes, of course, chief of which being, well, know what you're summoning, know what its modifiers are, but certainly, if another player is thinking of playing something in this vein, it will slow combat down real hard. So make sure you talk to everybody, let them know what's up, and make sure you let them know that this will be a lawful evil character, and a lawful evil character that will want to play in Deeper Darkness like all the time forever. Of course, there are a lot of playstyles that won't mesh with these, so make sure everybody knows what's up, and don't be afraid to play something else if it's not going to pan out. And finally, I can't believe I'm saying this. I can't believe I'm going to prioritize that over other things, but the Herald Collar, well and truly, anyone who summons something from a bestiary must be played in a meta where we are using point buy. Anytime I've ever seen a summoner do badly, it was because they were in a world where we were 4d6, reroll 1s and 2s, drop lowest. So everyone had god stats, which are just much better than the stats of anything you can summon. In a point buy, things will look a lot more fair, and like you won't just call things out only for them to die. We've got a lot of stuff to unpack for this one. First, we're going to start with our race, because it's not the race I thought it would be. Not even close. But there's a really, really, really good feat for people who like to summon things that have green skin. Today, for the first time, basically in my entire life, I am building and planning on playing a half-orc. The full orc does get ferocity more times per day and a huge strength buff, but we will need both our wisdom and our charisma, and probably will never be in combat anyway, given that our prestige class has a d6 hit dice. +2 to any one stat just straight up looks better this time. And ferocity once a day is probably more than enough for someone who's not planning on being in melee. For our traits, we've got 3 this time, and none of them are reactionary. Can you believe it? Yeah, weird. So you will need a drawback. We leave it up to you to choose which. First up, Outsider Ties. Says that you choose a subtype of Outsider, such as Angel or Elemental. We will be choosing Devil. Yeah, remember I said we'd be Ellie? I think you smelled this one coming a long ways off, but choose a Devil. When you summon a Devil, with Summon Monster, Planar Ally, Planar Binding, Gate, or similar sorts of abilities and things, the summon creature gains a number of temporary hit points equal to the level of spell used to summon it. 1 HP is not really anything worth writing home about, I suppose, but 5 could be, certainly so could 9, especially when it stacks with a lot of other things we can do. We'll dip into the Hell's Vengeance campaign setting also and take Apprentice Devilbinder, which states that when you cast Summon Monster to summon a devil or fiendish thing, the duration of that spell increases by 1 round. In addition, you gain a +1 trait bonus on opposed charisma checks against devils conjured with Planar Binding, and payments to devils you conjure with planar ally are reduced by 10%. Those last two are definitely things this character does, but they do them out of combat and require a lot of roleplay betwixt you and your GM, so we cannot really optimize around those, but it's worth noting that we want to buff them. And a faction trait as well, Master of Pentacles. Once per day when casting a spell of the Conjuration School, basically our whole shtick, treat your caster level as 2 higher when determining the spell's duration, which is clutch in low-level play. The longer something stays around, the better it is. And now let's talk about our class, shall we? The Herald Collar looks a lot like the vanilla Cleric. It gets 4+ int skills, as opposed to the Cleric's 2, but only gets 1 domain from the deity's list of domains, and does not gain proficiency with medium armor or shields. However, through the grace of my lord, and we will talk more about him in a minute, I, the Herald Collar, can channel stored energy into summoning spells that I have not prepared ahead of time. I may lose a prepared spell in order to call upon servants of my lord, casting any summon monster spell of the same level or lower. I gain a +1 on concentration checks to cast defensively when I'm casting summon monster. This increases at 5th level to 2, and by +1 every 5 cleric levels thereafter, which means we don't have to prepare summon monster. In the optimized party, and follow this card right here, if you don't know what that is, we're definitely on battlefield control. We've got all those sweet tier 1 cleric spells that we can point at the bad guys and shut them off. And then we can use those spells when we need them, and we can also basically make our own switch hitters, keeping the battlefield gummed up while ourself truly and the rest of the people around us are knocking people out, paralyzing them, coup de grace. It's a wonderful world. Now let's talk about our choice of deity, shall we? Had to spend quite a bit of time flipping through Book of the Damned for this one, but it's a deity that resonates with us on like 5 different layers. It's a really, really good deity for someone who wants to summon. And my lord's name is Barbatus. We pledge fealty to the Lord of the First for several reasons. First and foremost, though this is not a strictly speaking tool for optimization, it does open the door for a class feature, that Barbatus's areas of concern include animals, because I may only use summon monster to summon creatures particularly appropriate to the Lord of the First. Of course, this includes all creatures listed as summon monster options for priests of my lord. I believe it is more than fair to use Asmodeus's. Creatures whose alignment match at least one aspect of my lord's alignment, think, oh, I don't know, hordes of devils, and creatures of an elemental subtype if any. With that in mind, if I summon monster using a spell from the cleric's spell list, I can understand the creature, it can understand me, as if we spoke a common language. In addition, whenever I use channel energy to heal, I can include all of my summoned monsters even if they are out of our normal channel radius, or of a creature type that would normally not be affected. The Wiseman of the Wild's affiliation with all animals should, in theory, allow you to summon whatever animal you please in early level play, until you have access to the more scary things. Which of course is incredibly important for us, as one of the strengths of the summoner is the versatility. Need something that can fly, something that can swim, something with pounce, something with a really high AC. Well, you just gotta know your table. It also will require a great deal of character sheets and math, because at 4th level, I receive Augment Summoning as a bonus feat, and I am considered to have Spell Focus Conjuration for the purpose of prereqs for feats that have Augment Summoning as a prereq. In addition, at 8th level, I gain Superior Summoning as a bonus feat. Augment Summoning states that each creature I conjure with any summon spell gains a +4 enhancement bonus to Strength and Constitution for the duration of the spell that summoned it. A free Bull's Strength, a free Bear's Endurance. Superior Summoning states that each time I cast a summoning spell that conjures more than one creature, I add 1 to the total number of creatures summoned. We flood the battlefield with agents of hell and drag the weak back for eternal servitude. Man, I just can't not make edgelord characters, can I? Yeah. It is what it is. Having what is basically 2.5 feats handed to us goes a long, long way to alleviate this build's feat tax. And again, they're really good. 1d3 things, roll bad, but the worst you're going to do is make 2, and the best you're going to do is make 4. This is before any meta magic shenanigans. And in an optimized party, you don't really have to worry, unless, again, people rolled for stats and magically have like 5 18s, about your creatures falling behind if you're buffing them out. Once we have Augment Summoning, Spell Focus, Conjuration, 5 ranks in Knowledge the Planes and Spellcraft, and the ability to cast Summon Monster 3, as well as the ability to speak Abyssal and Infernal. From levels 6 through 15, we will go into our prestige class, the Blackfire Adept, and this is why we are evil. A loosely organized order of nihilistic alienists and demonologists, we study the power of unmaking as it manifests through the multiverse. Studying the phenomena of Blackfire, a phenomenon that burns away the fibers of reality wherever it touches, thinning the walls between planes, especially between the material plane and the evil outer planes. The Blackfire Adept gains Sacred Summons as a bonus feat at first level, which says that when we're using summon monsters, summon creatures whose alignment subtype or subtypes exactly match our aura, we can cast the spell as a standard action instead of with a casting time of 1 round, which is huge for us. Having to spend a whole round to do a thing takes the action economy down by quite a bit for us, and we're still that tier 1 full caster. You definitely want to be able to do other things on your turn. As a standard action at 2nd level, we also can corrupt the planar substrate into strands of Blackfire that creates a resonance between ourselves and a target within 30 feet. This allows us to gain a +1 profane bonus on attack rolls and caster level checks against the target, and the target takes a -1 penalty on saves against our attacks, -2 if the attack is a conjuration effect. The taint lasts for a number of rounds equal to our class level. A will save reduces it to 1 round. This effect will immediately end if the target moves more than 30 feet away from us. The buff and debuff ticks up as we level. It's only important that we remember we have this. It's very important for how the build works. At 3rd level, we will choose Devil with Blackfire Pact. Against Devils, we will gain a +1 profane bonus on saves, caster level checks, charisma checks, and charisma-based skill checks. When using Planar Ally or Planar Binding, we can call 2 additional hit dice of outsiders with the chosen subtype, and those creatures gain temporary hit points equal to our class level, a +1 bonus on saves, and a +1 profane bonus to the caster level DC for effects that would send them home. We gain an Unholy Blight that does extra damage per level of sacrificed spell with Blackfire Eruption, and at 5th level, when we call one of his servants into an area where summoning is blocked by a magical effect, or when a creature within 30 feet we have called would have its attacks blocked by such an effect, as a swift action, we may sacrifice a prepared spell of the same level as the warding effect. If our caster level is higher than theirs, we will immediately negate their weak and puny abilities. If it's the same or lower, we must make a caster level check, but at 10th level, this ability will allow us to summon our beasties, to summon the legions, into prismatic spheres, anti-magic fields, or extra-dimensional shelters, though we must always make a caster level check. This will even allow us to summon our monsters into areas where magic is dead, such as the Mana Wastes, with a successful caster level check. But the real power comes from Breaching Legion. At our 7th Blackfire Adept level, when we summon a creature from one of our Blackfire Pact subtypes, we can choose to allow that creature to use any innate summoning abilities it possesses. Now, these creatures are not under our control, and that's another reason why the party's gotta be down with this. Worst case scenario, you've created a bunch of frenzied berserkers that are all gonna attack the party, but being lawful evil and summoning devils, so long as the party doesn't get in their way or start paladining next to them, should be fair enough reason for these new summoned creatures to not attack the party. And at 8th level, whenever myself or any of my called minions deals hit point damage to a target affected by a Blackfire Taint, as a swift action, I can increase the damage dealt by the attack by 1 hit point per class level. If the target is killed, I will gain temporary hit points equal to half their hit dice. They last for 1 hour and do not stack. Lastly, at level 10, when one or more creatures appear via conjuration effect within 30 feet of myself, as an immediate action, I may unleash a black fire eruption that targets all such creatures within 30 feet. So if someone would send an angel against me, well, I'll send them to hell, as per plane shift. Seems fun, right? That's kind of the shtick we're running here. We summon a thing that has the ability to summon things for extra guys on the battlefield. Some of those guys will have buffs to their ability scores. As a cleric, we can buff the ones that don't. We flood the action economy with a lot of really powerful things, some of which are lasting for a really long time, to say nothing of our ability to, well, have a build-your-own outsider workshop. But we'll talk about that at the end of the video. Now, feats, shall we? At level 1, we will take Selective Channeling. As an evil cleric, we will be channeling energy to harm, at least for a while. And when you channel energy, with this feat, you can choose a number of targets in the area up to your charisma modifier. And really, you want your wisdom and charisma both to be as high as possible for devil binding, for spell casting, and for energy channeling. This makes those targets not affected by the negative energy we're kicking around. At feat level 3, we will take Spell Focus Conjuration. Yeah, I know, we'll be treated as having it. Unfortunately, Herald Collar only lets us treat us as having it for the purposes of feats, not for our prestige class. Our next feat is the reason we chose to play an Orc. Ferocious Summons. This feat states that creatures we summon gain the Ferocity Universal Monster ability. This will cease them returning to hell when they go down to 0 HP. Rather, they will gain the Staggered Condition. They will lose 1 HP every round until they are destroyed, but they will fight on until they reach a number of negative hit points equal to their Constitution score. Did I mention that we're buffing that out in class? A +4 to con is 2 hit points per hit dice, and +4 more as we are ticking down in ferocity. Adding on hit points 2 different directions is very powerful. Hail Barbatus! You know what else is cool? Eidolons. With the evolved summoned monster feat at 7th level, each time we cast a summon monster spell, we can select a 1-point evolution other than Pounce or Reach from those available to a summoner's Eidolon. The summoned thing must be able to have the right number of limbs to do the thing, so it has to have a reach of 10 to have the pull evolution. And evolutions that grant additional attacks or enhance existing attacks can be applied only to medium or larger summoned creatures, most of our summons by this point. If we summon more than one creature with a single spell, only one of them gets this, but it keeps our versatility rolling. A +8 to a skill point if you need that thing to be stealthy or talk for you, increasing the damage from a bite attack to do 1.5 times strength. Gills if you really want to summon something that can't breathe underwater and you need it to. Improved damage to tick up natural attacks by 1 step, improved natural armor. The list is pretty big. Definitely, I am sure you could find a thing. Alignment Channel states that instead of its normal effect, you can choose to have your ability to channel energy, heal or harm outsiders of the chosen alignment type. Of course, you choose Chaos, Evil, Good, or Law, and this one also is campaign specific. If you're Devils versus Demons, choose Law. If you're Devils versus Angels, choose Evil. This will cause our channel energy to have no effect on other creatures, but it allows us, an evil cleric, to be able to channel to heal. And remember, no matter how far away the minions of Barbatus get from us, we can always heal them this way. It's just real good. At level 11, we will take Deific Obedience. We will choose the Archdevil Barbatus. Hot on its heels, we will take Diverse Obedience. Take whichever of the spells you want. For our 16th level boon, which we will now get faster with Diverse Obedience, we'll go Exalted for Gnashing of Brutish Teeth. So once per day as a standard action, we can force all enemies within 30 feet of us to will save or start frightening folks and throw down sonic damage equal to 1d6 per hit die. It's half if they pass the save and they're shaken instead of frightened, but the real power comes at 20th level, or 18th for us with Diverse Obedience with Avernus's Iron Gates from the Sentinel Path. Once per day we can open a gate to Avernus as per the spell, and use it either to take our allies to Avernus or call forth a Pit Fiend. If we do so, we are not required to pay the 10,000 GP material cost. If the Pit Fiend has more hit dice than us, we cannot control it, but Pit Fiends tend to gladly obey the requests of powerful minions of Barbatos. And that's kind of part 1 of the 1-2 punch that makes this build really scary. At 15th level for funsies, we'll take Summon Guardian Spirit. When we do so, we select one creature that qualifies to be an improved familiar. For us, of course, it'll be an imp, and apply the Guardian Spirit template to it. That creature is added to our Summon Monster 3 list. When we summon it, the duration of the spell used is 1 minute per level. We always call the exact same imp with the same memories, and if we cast a higher Summon Monster spell, we can perform a ritual to attune the Guardian to that spell. Summon Monster 9 for an imp with a plus 12 to its armor class, 12 more hit dice, a plus 8 to each of its ability scores. The ability to smite something that has attacked us, in addition to a bunch of spells, the ability to cause something to roll with advantage for a round with Fated Guardian. Really, it's just a super good template to apply to a very iconic thing. Most of our meta magic now will be on rods or other kinds of items, but we will take Reach spell manually, that we may summon the legions of hell even farther away from us, because by this point, it'll probably come to a time where our hit dice are not anywhere near as high as the rest of the parties, and we'd rather not get, bonked on the head when summoning. If nothing else, this allows us to summon a flying thing over our heads rather than figure out how to get to the flying thing. Finally, at 19th level, Proxy Summoning says that whenever you cast a touch spell while adjacent to a creature you summoned, you can have the summoned creature carry the spell's charge. Once the spell is cast, you and any creature you summon gain the Share Spells ability. This is worded very awkwardly. I have to imagine that when you rest at night that this resets and you have to set it back up again, but the cleric has a lot of spells that are personal that look really, really good on our summons. Overwhelming Presence, Righteous Might, just to name 2. Imagine those on a Pit Fiend that walks out of a gate from Avernus. Terrifying, right? Yeah, I love it. Now, as for our magic items, of course, follow this card right up here. We'll teach you all about the big 6, but in addition to meta magic rods, say like Maximize spell for the 1d3 of things, we got 3 special items that we're looking for today. First, the Rod of Giant Summoning, of course with a lesser standard and greater variant, like meta magic rods, puts the giant simple template on things that we summon. Increasing the size category of the thing by 1, buffing its natural armor by 3, damage dice go up by 1 step, and we get a plus 4 size bonus to Strength and Con, with a minus 2 to Dex. Oops, our summons are even more powerful now. Of course, we'll want an Extend Metamagic Rod, basically as soon as we can get it, because rounds per level is not a very long duration. A Maximized Metamagic Rod, of course, also looks great on us, as does an Empowered Metamagic Rod. 1d3 becoming 3 plus 1, then half again means we could make 6 of a thing when we're summoning lesser creatures with higher summon monster spells, which is kind of important for later. Lastly, the Cauldron of Overwhelming Allies says that once per day, if we use it as the focus or divine focus for summon monster, the Cauldron will automatically conjure 1d3 additional creatures of the same kind from the next lower level list, which I suppose is kind of confusing. What this says, basically, is if we conjure 1d3 Lemur Devils using a higher level summon monster spell, we could also summon a d3 additional Lemurs because they come from a lower spell list, which is really important for us. Because, remember how I said we were calling a Pit Fiend? And again, Planar Binding exists, Planar Ally exists. It's hard to optimize around those when you are directly interfering with the narrative. When you do so, that's between you and your GM. Remember when I said we'd be calling out a Pit Fiend with Gate? And that Pit Fiend would be a loyal servant of ours? In addition to all the crazy stuff a Pit Fiend does and all the buffs we'll put on it, worth noting that that Pit Fiend has 35 Constitution also. That's huge, given that it will have Ferocity, to say nothing of Wish, I suppose. Once per day, the Pit Fiend can summon any CR 19 or lower devil, can 3 times a day spend a minute to transform nearby lemurs, Zaboomafoo, why are you a Pit Fiend? Do not ask questions, mortal. Into other devils. A Pit Fiend can transform 1 Zaboomafoo. For every hit dice the Pit Fiend possesses, the Pit Fiend has 20 hit dice. It can then reshape them into a number of hit dice worth of lesser devils equal to the number of Zaboomafoos we've Zaboomified. 20 Zaboomafoos can become 2 Bone Devils, 3 Bearded Devils, with 2 Zaboomafoos, still adorable little lemurs. They must be within 50 feet of the Pit Fiend, and it'll take a minute, which means this is probably like the before combat shenanigans, given that Extend spell will only let things stay for so long. But after that minute is passed, these crappy little low-tier devils are reshaped into a more powerful devil, which in theory should allow them to stay on the battlefield longer. They are now a new entity, ready to follow the orders of a Pit Fiend who follows the orders of you. You with me? It's really good. Technically, we can also make a new Pit Fiend, but most are hesitant to do so since we'd have no special control over this Pit Fiend. But since this guy's already fanatically loyal to us, it's probably really easy to get him to stay around longer and make more. Then it goes into the realm of the roleplay and the spending of the gold and things. TLDR, we're going to make an army of Pit Fiends. I cannot tell you exactly how to do this because obviously it involves your GM's roleplaying of that Pit Fiend, and yes, if it goes south, it could be really bad for the party. But if it doesn't go south, hey, you want to play a monster? You got it. Now, one final bit of fun tech. One of the reasons we are summoning devils is because devils have the See in Darkness ability. Clerics have True Seeing and Deeper Darkness. So casting Deeper Darkness on that Pit Fiend and talking to your wizard friend and getting permanent True Seeing on everybody is a one-way ticket to you have all the seeing, they have all of the not seeing, and we will crush them and drag them screaming back to Avernus. But what do y'all think? Have we played a summoner before? How did you make sure your turns didn't take too long when you had a million guys under your control? Let me know all about how your contracts with devils for fun and profit went in the comments below. Oh, quick final thing for you guys. One of the coolest things about our prestige class is it will allow the things we summon to summon other things. First things first, in the description, I have a list of all greater than CR 12 devils who can summon other devils. We'd be here forever talking about them. There are a few of them. That list should get you started. Next week, we're going to do a special episode of min-maxing for fun and profit. A patron request has allowed me to boost a non-patron request. Lots of folks have asked me how to build encounters to challenge the optimized party. Oftentimes, I see these encounters not challenge the optimized party, but just shut down their abilities. And I'm here to say that that's not fun for anyone. So next week on Min-Maxing for Fun and Profit, we're going to take a quick look at all of the really powerful things in Pathfinder and how we can build to challenge them without shutting off their abilities. I'll see you then.